Oppo have added the largest battery we've ever seen in a Pixel device, but will this actually translate to giving us the best battery life we've ever seen from a Pixel device? Well, let's find out in this extreme battery drain test between the Pixel 9a versus the Nothing Phone 3a Pro versus the Oppo Reno 13 Pro on mobile cellular data only with no Wi-Fi option. Let's get into it. No time wasting, let's kick things off with this extreme battery drain test between the Pixel 9a, the Oppo Reno 13 Pro, and the Nothing Phone 3a Pro. Now, we will get into the exact parameters of how we've set up for this extreme battery drain test, but all you need to know for now is that we are doing this on mobile cellular data only, and we do it as one continuous video shoot end to end with no stops and no gaps, and we only speed it up in the most important areas so you don't have to sit around for hours like I had to. Now, if you don't believe me, check the link in the description below and the cards above. We actually shot this as one continuous live stream in 4K, so you can see everything happen in real time, so you know that it's legit. So if you appreciate the amount of effort that we put into our extreme battery drain test, then be sure to like, subscribe, most importantly, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future battery drain tests on the Lover of Tech channel, especially when it comes to these ones. It's gonna be a mammoth one, and the first thing we're gonna be getting into is the camera, and we are recording continuously in 4K 30 on the main rear camera. And I know I get a lot of feedback about why would anyone actually record 4K straight directly from their phone into storage. And all I can say is go watch my day in the life video review of the iPhone 16 Pro Max. There is a section in there that proves that there are special situations where you would need your phone to have the ability to record an hour straight or more. And this is pretty much a case for it here. After an hour, we've got 90% battery, 38.2 degrees Celsius, minus 10% battery loss on the Pixel 9a. Then we've got 91% battery, 40.7 degrees Celsius, minus 9% battery loss on the Oppo Reno 13 Pro. And then we've got 83% battery, 41.1 degrees Celsius, minus 17% battery lost on the Nothing Phone 3a Pro. Now, we are pretty much expecting the Oppo to win this 5,800 mAh battery versus 5,000 mAh battery on the Nothing Phone 3a Pro versus 5,100 mAh battery on the Pixel 9a. But again, optimization and also the chipset, the display, and everything collectively, modem performance really comes into play here. So let's see how things go. Next is Instagram Live. And of course, this is something I do on a regular basis where I like to engage with my audience and other fellow content creators and pretty much catch up, have Q&As, and discuss. Again, this is something that you will see me do in my day in the life videos, and it's something I do on a regular basis. So really, really good and informative way to just have a live connection with your audience. And this, again, is being done on mobile cellular data only with the selfie camera, which is obviously what you mostly use when you're live streaming. After an hour, 74% battery, 41.7 degrees Celsius, minus 16% battery loss on the Pixel 9a. And then 78% battery, 39.4 degrees Celsius, minus 13% battery loss on the Oppo Reno 13 Pro. And then 70% battery, 37.5 degrees Celsius, minus 13% battery loss. Now, in terms of percentage loss, the Oppo and the Nothing Phone were the most efficient in this round. But again, that doesn't translate to milliamps loss. That's something that is, you have to calculate it based on the approximate battery size that you're working with. But this is pretty much what we have here right now. So it is looking like a very strong outing for the Pixel over what we're seeing on the Nothing Phone 3a Pro. Can Nothing bring it back, or are Google in their bag when it comes to this one? Well, next is TikTok. And like I always say, TikTok is like the wicked Wild West when it comes to producing and consuming media, and the lifestyle and everything that's going on with TikTok right now, especially in the US. I don't know, man. Things are still so uncertain for how this app is going to be accessible and used to people. But again, if you want to follow us there when it comes to creating vertical content related to tech, like what we have here, then be sure to follow us at Lover of Tech BA over on TikTok. Now, when we get to the 3 hour mark, we are looking at 61% battery, 37.0 degrees Celsius, minus 13% battery loss on the Pixel 9a, and then 68% battery, 35.9 degrees Celsius, minus 10% battery loss on the Oppo Reno 13 Pro, and then 60% battery, 35.6 degrees Celsius, minus 10% battery loss. And again, the Oppo and the Nothing Phone in terms of percentage loss are the most efficient. So let's get into the next part, which is Instagram Reels. And I have to say, Instagram has easily become my favorite social media when it comes to the amount of Reels and memes that I'm watching, as well as sending to my friends and family. Most of the time, that's how I'm keeping up with friends and family to see if they're right. Someone will ask me how they are, and I'm like, well, I ain't spoken to them, but we have a real relationship. So that's how we pretty much get down when it comes to it. But it's a great place if you want to see behind the scenes for what we get up to when it comes to things happening at Lover of Tech. So if you want to see more behind the scenes, follow us there at Lover of Tech _BA. Now, 46% battery, 39.3 degrees Celsius, minus 15% battery loss on a Pixel 9a, and then 59% battery, 36.0 degrees Celsius, minus 9% battery loss on the Oppo, and then 49% battery, 35.4 degrees Celsius, minus 11% battery loss on the Nothing phone. Now, Nothing has pulled it back. So this is going to be a very interesting one. So we're moving over to YouTube, and this is an hour of YouTube at 1440p 60 FPS on mobile data with the full screen experience on one of our definitive camera comparisons of the S24 Ultra when it first came out. This one is going to be very hard because you're using a lot of mobile data, the modem is getting stressed, and you're using the full screen to watch videos. So this is probably one of the most taxing parts that you can see, but it's very common that you can use YouTube for an hour if you're listening and watching your favorite podcast, for example. Now, after the hour, at the 5 hour mark, is 32% battery, 38.0 degrees Celsius, minus 14% battery loss on the Pixel 9a, and then 48% battery, 37.1 degrees Celsius, minus 11% battery loss on the Oppo, and then 39% battery, 36.8 degrees Celsius, minus 10% battery loss on the Nothing Phone 3a Pro. Wow, now to get to 5 hours and it's only just dropping below 50% on the Oppo, yeah. I know this one is gonna take me on a long stretch. Next is YouTube Music and listening to one of my favorite rap projects and albums of all time, Kanye West's College Dropout. Yes, old Kanye all the way. This definitely is one album that when I get to this part of the extreme battery drain test, it gives me so much motivation and boost to keep carrying on because it's not easy at all. And the track that comes to mind is Never Let You Down featuring Jay-Z. When I hear that track, it really gives me the motivational boost because when I do these tests, I never want to let you down and I want to make sure it's the most accurate and the best that you're going to be seeing on YouTube. At the 6 hour mark, 20% battery, 37.3 degrees Celsius, minus 12% battery loss on a Pixel 9a, 39% battery, 36.1 degrees Celsius, minus 9% battery loss on the Oppo, and then 29% battery, 35.5 degrees Celsius, minus 10% battery loss on the Nothing. So the most efficient one is the Oppo, then the Nothing, then the Pixel. Boy, this Oppo, it's a beast when it comes to the battery life. So let's see how far it's going to be going. Now, what we have here is Twitter Spaces or X Spaces. Are you new school like X or are you old school like Twitter? Let me know in the comment section below. But this is something I do on a regular basis when I get a chance to, where it's like a chat room service where you get to engage and talk about the topics of the weeks or topics of the situation, which mine is going to be around technology where, you know, your followers can join in, your fellow content creators can join in. It's something that is really still nice about X or Twitter. So it's something that I do use and it showcases the use case when you're on mobile data. Now, at the 7 hour mark, we have 10% battery, 37.3 degrees Celsius, minus 10% battery loss on the Pixel 9a, and then 28% battery, 37.8 degrees Celsius, minus 11% battery loss on the Oppo, and then 20% battery, 36.5 degrees Celsius, minus 9% battery loss on the Nothing phone. So the Nothing phone was the most efficient when we're talking about percentage loss. Now we're in gaming. When we get to this section, trust me, most phones that power through have exceptionally good battery life. And in reference to what the Pixel 9 was, where it did about 6 hours and 56 minutes, the Pixel 9a is doing a fantastic job. And it pretty much rounds up at the 7 hour mark, 29 minutes and 55 seconds, a final temperature reading of 42.2 degrees Celsius. In third place is the Pixel 9a. This is fantastic when it comes to the battery life improvement here from Google, and definitely does prove that they have the longest battery life ever on a Pixel device and the best performing battery that you will ever get on a Pixel device. So this is a good look. But actually, we'll look at the Oppo and the Nothing phone. The Nothing phone pulled it back. It was behind before, but now it's way ahead of what the Pixel produced. And it actually makes it through a whole hour of gaming where we have 13% battery on the Oppo, 39.8 degrees Celsius, minus 15% battery loss, and then 3% battery left on the Nothing, and a temperature reading of 40.6 degrees Celsius, minus 17% battery loss. This is such a great improvement from last year from nothing, and shows they've really optimized it well. Now we're on WhatsApp video call, and the phones that make it this far, telling you, God tier battery life. And it rounds up at 8 hours and 60 minutes exactly, a temperature reading of 39.0 degrees Celsius. In second place is the Nothing Phone 3A Pro. Nothing. Honestly, you've done a great job improving it from the 2A and the 2A Plus from last year. But right now, it's all down to the Oppo. Look at the percentage that is running. 8.5 hours, you've got 6% battery. Now, is it actually going to be the first phone to ever complete the full cycle, 9 hours, an hour each for each task on our extreme battery drain test? It's on 1%. How long is this 1% gonna hold on? Is it actually gonna make it to the 9-hour mark? Looking at it, it does. This is the first time that's happened. A temperature reading of 39.4 degrees Celsius, minus 12% battery loss. This is the first phone that we've ever tested that has completed the whole cycle for our extreme battery drain test. And considering this is being done on mobile data, this is crazy. And now we're having to reload it, the 2024 edition, starting back with TikTok. And with that, it does clock out at 9 hours, 8 minutes, and 5 seconds. A final temperature reading of 37.4 degrees Celsius. In first place is the Oppo Reno 13 Pro. So in third place is the Pixel 9a with a finishing time of 7 hours, 29 minutes, and 55 seconds. Now, considering last year, the Pixel 8a did about 5.5 hours or slightly over, this improvement, especially for our 2025 edition of the Extreme Battery Drain Test, which is even tougher than last year, this is such a great improvement, and definitely Google have put their money where their mouth is. This is the best battery life we've ever seen from a Pixel device, and this is great to see. So yeah, we do have the Pixel 9a in third place with a finishing time of 7 hours, 29 minutes, and 55 seconds. And in second place is the Nothing Phone 3A Pro with a finishing time of 8 hours and 60 minutes exactly. And this is such a good improvement from last year's 2A and 2A Plus. I love to see improvements like this, especially when it comes to a meaningful area and metric like battery life. Well done, Nothing. In this 8-hour mark where you can do a whole hour of gaming at the tail end, that is impressive. So yeah, in second place is the Nothing Phone 3A Pro. Finishing time, 8 hours, 16 minutes exactly. And in first place with a colossal finishing time of 9 hours, 8 minutes, and 5 seconds is the Oppo Reno 13 Pro. Take a bow. This is the first phone to have ever completed the complete cycle of our extreme battery drain test to then start from the beginning. And that is insane to consider the level of battery life that you're getting in here at the mid-range level. And any phone I've tested, flagship, mid-range, or super low end, has never been able to do this. So bravo, Oppo, to find this kind of improvement from last year. If you watch the Oppo Reno 12 series that I did last year, wow, this is miles ahead. I'm just left speechless. And if you watch the live stream and you heard my reaction live, wow, this is impressive and makes worthwhile why I love doing these extreme battery drain tests. First place goes to the Oppo Reno 13 Pro, finishing time 9 hours, 8 minutes, and 5 seconds. Now for the parameters of this extreme battery drain test. How did we set up these phones to actually perform for this test? Now, as stated, we are doing this on mobile cellular data only with no Wi-Fi option. We are using Vodafone's UK 4G prepaid network, and they are using the £15 big value bundle, which does give it 20 gigabytes of data, which is more than enough for what we need on this test. Next is the display. Any form of adaptive and automatic brightness has been disabled, and with a clear white background, we have tried to calibrate the displays as close to 200 nits as possible. Now for the rest of the settings, starting with the Pixel 9a. When it comes to the display, everything pretty much has been left to the default settings out of the box, such as the color settings, which are in the adaptive mode. You can't change the screen resolutions, but what we have toggled on is the 120 Hz mode. That is off by default. We have turned it on here. Now, when it comes to the battery settings, we have disabled adaptive battery settings off. The power saving is on the standard mode. And of course, once we look at the software settings, it is on the latest April update So everything is up to date for the Pixel 9a. Very straightforward there. Next is the Oppo Reno 13 Pro. As you can see, adaptive brightness is off. The screen color mode is in the natural recommended mode. Out of the box, we have increased the screen time to 30 minutes as stated, just to make sure that it's easier to manage when it comes to the screen staying on. And the resolution is on 1080p, which is the standard default. And the refresh rate has been left in the auto adaptive 120 Hz mode. Now for the battery settings, the battery mode is left in the default balance mode. If there is a chance to do this again, we'll go into the high performance mode, but it's left in the balance mode as default as we go through. Now, when we go through into the settings, you can see that this is on the latest update for ColorOS. So everything is pretty much up to date. And just seeing the device information, that is the Oppo Reno 13 Pro. It's powered by MediaTek Dimensity 8350, and it's a large 5800 milliamp hour battery, and the pixels on 5100 milliamp hours. Now, when we go into the Nothing Phone 3a Pro, again, adaptive brightness, automatic brightness has been disabled. All the phones are in their light mode setting, not dark mode. And again, when it comes to the screen time, we have increased to 30 minutes. The adaptive refresh rate is on for 120 Hz. And for the battery, as you can see, things have been toggled off to make sure that we get the most consistent battery life all the way through. And when we're checking the software settings under the system, we can see that everything is as up to date as possible. It does say February, but as we're checking, everything is as up to date as we can when it comes to OTA. You can see this is the phone information where it is powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 7S Gen 3, and it's a 5000 milliamp hour battery. And obviously the Pixel is powered by the Tensor G4. This is a quick look of the Geekbench 6 scores. And overall, it does look like with the multi-core performance, it is the Oppo Reno 13 Pro that is scoring the highest. And this is being done in a balanced mode and not the high performance mode. I'm sure it will score higher in the high performance mode, but for the single core score, it is in favor of the Pixel 9a, whereas you're seeing a decent balance when it comes to the Nothing Phone 3a Pro. But this is just to give an overall scope of what we're working with. Now, that is it with this extreme battery drain test between the Pixel 9a, the Nothing Phone 3a Pro, and the Oppo Reno 13 Pro. What an amazing test run this was. Were you surprised by these results, or was this exactly what you were expecting? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. That is it for me, Ben from Lover of Tech. If you enjoy videos like this, you know exactly what to do. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're part of Team TLS, the Tech Lover Squad, so you don't miss any future videos on the channel. I hope you're all safe during this time. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.